Dear believers, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the masjidwdm Muhammad Taleem on this Sunday afternoon. Inshallah, it's a pleasure to be with you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. We always begin with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. And we always bear witness that there is no God but Allah. He is one alone, having no partners, no associates. And we bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to whom the Quran was revealed to as his messenger and his servant and his last prophet. We say that he is the seal of all prophets, that he is the Khatam Nabiyeen. Dear Muslims, dear believers, in the few short moments that we have with you all today, we just really wanted to share some post-Ramadan reflections, things that I've been thinking about during the month of Ramadan, thinking about post-Ramadan, and how we can utilize the spirit and the energy and the focus that we had and have and should still have to carry us forward as we move forward in this reality. So we'll begin, with the concept of that we're all familiar with, and that is Allah and His lordship. And we know that Allah introduces Himself as the Lord of all systems of knowledge, of Rabbil Alameen, that He is the Lord of all systems of knowledge. And we know that Allah is also the creator of all things. And in Allah's lordship, in his Rabb, he is the one who manages all of the affairs of all of creation. That includes the physical reality that we see in the creation, the stars, the moons. We see in the plant life, the animal life, and then the crown that, using that expression, the crown of creation, the human being. And all of these realities are established on principles. They're established on principles and they are established on systems. And Allah is the one who looks after the whole creation the same way that, and He guides, He gives everything that the creation needs to sustain and aid its life. And Allah also is the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. And through this lordship that Allah has, it's synonymous, or it can be looked at on as the same type of principle that how the parent interacts and gives the child everything that it needs to sustain his or her life. And so when I think about the month of Ramadan, and I think about our life as human beings, there's certain parallels in how Allah has designed the creation of the human being, and He has designed the system of Ramadan. And when Allah gives us life, when Allah gives us life as a human being, we know that life begins with the mating of the male and the female. Life begins with the mating of the male and the female. And we know that the germ of life begins in the loins of the Father, the loins of the Father. And it is through that process, there are many seeds that come from that process, but there's only one seed. Or if the life germ reaches the egg of the mother, it can be twins, it can be triplets, it can be, but for the most part, there's one seed that reaches the egg. And this is a very divine, very sacred process, a very sacred system, how Allah has designed this. The man and the woman coming together to create a life. And it is through this struggle that this seed goes through, because there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition that goes through this process. And there's a struggle, there's a fight, there's a adversity that the seed has to, and the seed reaching the egg. And when it meets the destination to the egg, then there's a rest period. There's a rest period that happens as that seed begins to develop. And we know that during this resting point of the seed reaching the egg, that it comes in 3 trimesters or 3 periods. So, in thinking about how this parallels with the month of Ramadan, we just finished 29, 30 days of the month of Ramadan, striving, struggling, overcoming adversity to meet a destination, to meet a destination, to meet a resting point to where the soul, the mind, and the heart are satisfied with what we did, the works, the amal, the good works that we did during the month of Ramadan. So our life begins as a struggle to get to a destination, to get to a place to where our souls are resting, and the work that we have done, Allah is pleased with it. And we are struggling to get to a victorious state. And for the most of us, and for the most part during the month of Ramadan, this is what we're doing. We're coming from a place, we are striving and struggling, we're training, we're developing our minds, we're putting ourselves in an extreme set of circumstances. And a lot of times we take the month of Ramadan for granted of how strenuous it is, how difficult it is. You know, we only realize this when we talk to someone that may be, who are non-Muslim, and they say, "Man, y'all can't drink, like no water. You can't eat, like you can't eat anything during the daylight hours." And then we start to think about it. Perhaps we may think about it like, no, it's a matter of fact for us, but for them, it's like, whoa. Now we know that a lot of things have changed, and you hear these practices of intermittent fasting, so people are becoming more aware of the practice of fasting. But we know that there's other components, making the Taraweeh prayers. We know, reading the Quran, all of these different rituals and practices that we do during the month of Ramadan. But the point in saying all of this is that this is a struggle. This is a challenge for us to get to a destination to where we can be pleased with our works that we have done, and Allah will be pleased with us as well. And then once this new germ reaches the egg of the mother, then a new life comes about. There's a new life. So life begins in the loins of the father. That's an experience. Then when the germ the life germ reaches the egg of the mother, then another life form happens. And all of these things are very sacred. We take them for granted. Science is now catching up to these ideas, but we take a lot of this for granted. Oh yeah, okay, mother's pregnant, baby's getting ready to happen, but there's a lot of things that can happen in that period of time for that life not to come about. And it's the same thing that happens during the month of Ramadan. There's so many different things that can distract you. If we're not keen on our habits, if we're not focused on the Ramadan, if we're not applying the prescription that Allah has given us so that we can gain taqwa during the month of Ramadan, then sometimes you can feel like it's all for naught and you didn't reach the destination. So there's a physical destination that the life goes to, but then there's a spiritual and there's a mental destination that you're going through as well during the month of Ramadan. The whole point in saying all of this is that we should feel like that there's a new life that's coming about with us. We should see the first 10 days, there's a certain period of life that comes about. The second 10 days, there should be another life form that develops in us, that we should start to gain, different elements. We should learn more about ourselves. We should be situating ourselves in a different mentality. Our spirit should be heightened. Our focus should be enhanced. All of these things should be coming about during the month of Ramadan if you are following the prescription that Allah has given us. Kutiba alaykum siyam. That Allah has prescribed this month of Ramadan for us. that he has written, he has prescribed that this month of Ramadan, just like those who come before us, so that we can attain righteousness, so that we can develop taqwa, so that we can have it. It can be a part of us. So this month of Ramadan is a process of life beginning. And there's a victory that comes along with that as well. There's a sense of accomplishment, if you will, in going through these different forms of life that begin to develop in us internally, externally, physically, spiritually, and mentally. And so during the first trimester, we know it is the first 10 days are of mercy. The second 10 days we know is forgiveness, and the last 10 days are to keep us away from the hellfire. So going through that process, we should come out of the month of Ramadan like a baby is coming out of the womb of the mother. That's the point of the Ramadan. And we know that we have just celebrated Eid al-Fitr, this reoccurring happiness, this reoccurring spirit that happens, through this developmental process. But it shouldn't stop there. So I'll go into the next point that I want to talk about, and that is, what do we do with this new life? What do we do with this new life? Now that we have become victorious of overcoming these habits that we may have accumulated throughout the rest of the months of the year, we have a new sense of reality. We have a new sense of purpose. We should be looking at all of the challenges that we had, all of the things that we do on a normal everyday basis, all of the goals, all of the objectives that we want to accomplish, all of the dreams and aspirations that we have. We should be looking at those things with a new lens, with a new set of eyes, with a new perception and a new perspective on things. As we're reading the Quran during the month of Ramadan, we should be gaining insight. But all of this should not stay with the month of Ramadan. That's not the purpose. It's for us to just go through that process for 30 days and then drop it and then pick it back up for the next year that Ramadan comes around. This process is meant for us to keep it, for it to be a part of our new DNA, to be a part of our new cellular structure. We should be developing new components about ourselves. We should be expanding. We should be ascending. We should have a new quality of life experiences. We shouldn't look at ourselves the same way. We shouldn't look at our family the same way. We shouldn't look at our community the same way. We shouldn't look at our problems the same way. A lot of our problems should be eliminated, because a lot of the problems are internal, how we view ourselves, how we think about ourselves, how we perceive the world. So a lot of those problems, they should wither away. They should wither away. Those problems, we should be identifying new problems. We should be identifying new challenges. And so with this new reality that we have, as Allah was guiding us during the month of Ramadan, as Allah was giving us direction, Allah was giving us clarity during the month of Ramadan, now we come back into the reality of the real world. Because sometimes we can get caught up in the womb of Ramadan and we can lose perspective on what is going on throughout the rest of the world, because we are interacting with primarily Muslims. We're spending more time with the Muslims. We're spending more time at the masjid. We're spending more time getting acquainted with the Quran. We are, coming up with new ideas, new perspectives. So it puts us in a different womb, which is necessary, because we have to remove ourselves. So the rhythm of life, the same way that the birth rhythm is to contract and then expand, to contract and then expand. This is the heartbeat. This is the rhythm of creation. This is the rhythm of life, is to contract and then expand. The same way that the baby goes through the birth canal, through this same type of rhythm. The mother has contractions and then the birth canal expands. The mother has contractions and then the birth canal expands as the baby is moving through. So this is the period of Ramadan, is to contract us, to squeeze us, to put pressure on us. It should purify us through a process of burning, right? We should be burning and extinguishing all of the bad habits out. And we should be preparing ourselves through this contraction and this expansion through the rhythm of creation. This puts us in tune with the rest of creation. So with saying all of that, now we look at the world in which we live in. We look at some of the challenges that we face as Muslims, as individuals, as Muslims, as families, and then also the broader community, and then the world even. So when we look at the reality and what we're facing now, we're seeing banks collapse again. We've seen, these type of things happen. We are seeing like this gender war that's going on, the male versus the female, are all of the institutions that really hold up society. If we really take a real good look at it, they are failing us as human beings. They're really failing us. The educational system is going through a transitional process. The political system is constantly going through an evolutionary process. The financial and business institutions, those of us who follow the stock market or follow business, those of us, going back to education, those of us who are in education or following education, we see that there are many, many challenges that are facing the reality of our young people going through the process of education in this society. Those of us who are in business, we have to begin to rethink, our approaches to business. Some people are saying that a recession, that we're already in a recession, or some people are saying that the recession is coming. We're seeing the fluctuation in prices as far as inflation is concerned, and it's putting a lot of pressure on us as individuals and as families to really make a good life for ourselves. But the purpose of going through the Ramadan is to prepare us for this. It is to put us in line with the rest of the creation, the divine creation that Allah has ordered, and it should give us more clarity on how to approach some of these problems. So Allah, and there's no coincidence what Allah is doing for us, particularly those people of faith, and then more specifically us as Muslims. Allah is preparing us. I believe that Allah is preparing us for these challenges, to overcome these challenges, to provide solutions to these challenges. Because the rest of the world, these old traditional systems, they have to be either all the way eliminated, broken down, repaired, however the word you want to look at, you want to use, they have to be looked at again. And what the world, I believe, is missing is the contribution of the Muslim on a more broader scale. So this new life, this new reality, this new victory that we have experienced is not for us to just have a spiritual high. It's not for us to say, yes, alhamdulillah, I completed a victorious month of the month of Ramadan. It's designed for us at a base level to control our desires, at a base level to realize what may have been keeping us back from achieving progress, right? So now, when we start to engage the reality of the world, this is what we are supposed to do as Muslims. The word Iqra is not just to read a physical book. This word Iqra means to study, to investigate, to observe, to get involved in, to engage the reality. And that is the creation, the material existence. But how do we engage it? We engage it with the new life, the new perspective that we gained during the month of Ramadan. We know that the Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. We know that this was a monumental change in not only the reality and the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not only for Islam, the beginning of Islam as we know it, but it changed the face of and changed the reality of the whole world. What was going on pre-Ramadan, what was going on pre-revelation, what was going on pre-prophethood of Prophet Muhammad was a different reality after this moment, after this experience with the angel Jibril. So literally, we should have been going through our own process during the month of Ramadan. So after all of that, after the Quran was revealed, because Prophet Muhammad was searching for answers, he was searching for solutions, he was searching for a way to re-engage the world, to re-engage how the relationships of him looking at the society. So the same thing that we should be doing. We should have had our own Ramadan experience, whether it came in the first 10 days, whether it came in the last 10 days, whether it came, at the climax of the Ramadan, which is the night of power, seeking that opportunity for Allah to descend down the angels upon us, right? So that type of moment, we should experience that type of moment every Ramadan. We should experience those type of moments. If you're seeking it, you will find it. If you are sincere in looking for those type of opportunities, Allah is so merciful, he will give it to you. If you're seeking a new life, Allah will give it to you. If you're seeking more bounties from Allah, Allah will give it to you. If you're seeking more understanding about a situation, Allah will give it to you. It may not be clearly apparent the way that we anticipated, but if we are doing what Allah is asking us to do, as Allah is guiding us to a new reality, then we are to experience what Prophet Muhammad experienced every single Ramadan. And you should see yourself progressing. You should see yourself progressing. You should see yourself ascending. You should see yourself stretching and expanding, wanting more, to have more, to be more, to see more. All of these things should, these processes, or these processes, however you want to look at it, these should be happening to us. But the bigger goal is for us to utilize what we have gotten as an individual during this month of Ramadan to reconnect, to re-engage with the broader community. Because in a few short days, in a few short moments, now we should be looking for the collective sacrifice that is brought through the tradition of Eid al-Adha and the Hajj. Some of us will be embarking on the pilgrimage, going to the Hajj. That takes us to another reality of how we are to utilize what Allah has given us as individuals, sacrificing that so that we can go into a bigger reality. And now we're going into a bigger womb. So think about the progression of life. We come from a seed from our father, going into the womb of our mothers, having that restful experience, that developmental process. And then we come out of the mother's womb into a new reality. We were totally dependent upon our mothers for food, clothing, and shelter, and that safe and secure space. And then we had to sacrifice that. We had to get up out of the womb. We had to grow out of the womb. We had to ascend, and we had to expand out of that reality into a bigger reality. Then we came into the material world, out of the womb of the mother. And then we were dependent upon Allah. Of course, we were dependent upon our families, our communities, so on and so forth. But now we are coming into a reality where we are understanding who Allah is. What has Allah done for me as you begin to mature and develop? And then that's another reality. That individual journey that you learn about yourself. You learn your strengths. You learn your weaknesses. That's what the Ramadan is about as well. Learning your strengths, learning your weaknesses, challenging yourself. So now you're in this bigger world, and now you're challenging yourself even more to come into a bigger reality, and that is community establishment. And in order for us to come into community establishment, again, we're looking at all of the issues that we are facing as human beings to come up with new solutions, to come up with different solutions, to have our seat at the table, if you will, utilizing our voices, utilizing our skill sets, utilizing all of those things to impact the world. But we know we can't do it alone. So now we come into the communal establishment. So how can I utilize my gifts and my talents to link up, to connect with other people who have like minds, who have like spirits, the same people that just came out of the Ramadan, right? With the same spirit, the same energy, this new look on life. Now we're bonding with them. And as great as you were as an individual, you have to shed some of that or share some of it. You have to sacrifice it. You have to offer it up. Why? So that you can be purified. Same thing that we did during the month of Ramadan. All of this is a purification process as well. We can add that in this process, right? So now we come into the bigger reality, and that is community establishment. And I will begin to close with this, brothers and sisters. And that is, if we don't begin to make sacrifices, if we don't begin to utilize our talents, if we don't begin to connect with each other, to establish community life, if you will, then we can go to the wayside just like everything else. The world is moving at a very rapid pace. The world is moving very, very fast. There's new technologies that are introduced every single day. Are we in tune with those things? Or are we saying, oh, that's what they're doing? They're just competing in the dunya. We have Islam. We have the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those of us who are in the community of Imam WD Muhammad, or we have his insights from the Imam. And then we just rest into that womb like the baby can rest. But no, Allah is challenging us. The same way that he challenges us in the womb of the mother, we have to come out of that reality. So if we look at how the world is moving, it's becoming more and more inclusive. The world is becoming much, much, much smaller, where we have to rely on each other. We have to see each other more often, not only in a physical way, but it is designed now with all the technology that we can engage with other people across the world in the blink of an eye. Some of us who are in business, some of us who work for global companies, we know this reality, that we can have meetings with people, colleagues, fellow employees all across the world. Are we engaged in that reality, or are we resting on our laurels and saying we got what we need? So we have to challenge ourselves. We have to give up something. We have to sacrifice some of these old mentalities, these dead ideas. So the part of the process of living is die so that you can live. Die so that you can live. You have to give up certain things. And this is what we learned in the rhythm of Ramadan. We had to give up things that were not good for us so that we can have space and capacity for the things that are better for us, that are bigger for us. And we know this, brothers and sisters, we know that our capacity for good, our capacity for growth is way bigger than the things that can hold us down. That's how life began. We went through the opposition of breaking down the barriers that can keep us from having life, that can prevent us from reaching the destiny, to reaching the goal. So the destiny here in this material world, while we're occupying the space here in the material reality, is to meet the destination. And that destination here in this material world is to have the fulfillment of our lifestyle, or the fulfillment of our reality as Muslims, as people who are striving to please Allah, to meet Allah, right? So that's the reality that we have in this reality, in the physical material world. But at the same time, we're striving to meet the destiny, to meet Allah again with our record and our deeds. And Allah will challenge us. What did you give up? Did you sacrifice? So we need better schools. We need more businesses. We need a different cultural expression. We need to rethink government. So those four lives, business, education, culture, government, they all need to be reevaluated. And the only way that can happen is that we have to make a tremendous sacrifice and decide what are we going to give up to meet that reality. So our time is up. Those were my reflections post-Ramadan as we began to look at the challenges that we have before us, and is how can we come together as a group of people to put our reality in the material world. That's what we all want. That's what we have to set up for our children, the generations that are coming behind us. But celebrate the victory, but don't rest on it. Think about how we can, how we can evolve, how we can grow, how we can ascend and also expand. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Imam Hanif Khalil, for those wonderful expressions and thoughts. And inshallah, may Allah continue to guide you and protect you and reward you for your efforts. And now we have our community announcements. Please stay tuned. Community announcements. As always, we have our virtual khutbah every Friday, 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's live streamed on our Facebook, YouTube pages. In-person Jummah at Masjid Wdm Muhammad. The khutbah is at 1:30. Salat is at 2. Masks are recommended. Masjid Wdm Muhammad is making it easy to donate and help the community to keep growing. And if you want to participate in that effort, please snap the QR code. In-person Jummah is available at Mercy Community Center, Masjid Al Quran. Khutbah at 1:30 and the khutbah is at 2:15. Mercy Community Center, Masjid Al Quran, Merciful 313 program. In order to continue the support of Mercy Community Center, please snap that QR code. The Taleem and public address happens every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, as well as streamed on our YouTube and Facebook pages. If Zakat and donations are needed, you can go to our website. You can Zelle, PayPal, or Cash App in order to donate towards Masjid Wdm Muhammad. As well, if you want to donate towards Mercy Community Center Masjid Al Quran, you can go to mercycc.org/donation. And of course, the iftar is over because Ramadan has concluded. Inshallah, we want to thank everyone who participated and supported our iftar efforts. Mercy Community Center, Masjid Al Quran, Masjid Wdm Muhammad Muslima Nights. For more information, go to muslimanights@gmail.com. New Muslim orientation. You've just joined 1.8 billion Muslims. What's next? For more information, call 713-385-1215. Bara Sisters Halaqah every second and fourth Saturday from 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. For more information, you can go to barasisters.com. And in order to support our fundraising donor wall for the Ibrahim Kamaluddin Community Center, you can go to tinyurl.com/MWDM donor wall. That concludes the community announcements. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.